How's everybody doing? Fantastic. It is terrific to be back once again at the Lean Startup Conference as a former private sector entrepreneur and as a public servant who believes passionately in the power of Lean Startup to change the world. A growing number of federal and local government change agency leaders are actually employing Lean Startup style techniques to change how government works for the better. Government is, of course, obviously not a startup, but I think it's extremely helpful to think of projects and initiatives that seek to change government as startups. And in fact, I believe that Lean Startup techniques and approaches are as essential to public sector innovation success as they are to private sector innovation success. And we're now taking our innovation work along these lines to a whole other level with two remarkable new Lean startups within the United States government, 18F and the US Digital Service. What we'd like to do today is to introduce you to three amazing leaders of these units, folks who, to me, represent an emerging generation of new American heroes who are changing our government and changing America for the better. So first, let me introduce you to a personal hero of mine, Hillary Hartley, an extraordinary human being who joined the US government as a Presidential Innovation Fellow in 2013 and then couldn't leave at the end of her 6 months, just could not leave, and with other extraordinary innovation fellows, co-founded 18F, which is one of the most exciting stories in government today. Please welcome American hero, Hillary Hartley.
I'll give you a high five. Thank you, Todd. Even that intro is too much, and as you know, I think anybody who has worn the badge of honor of a Presidential Innovation Fellow also considers you a personal hero, so thank you very much. I'm here to tell a very quick story about 18F. As Todd said, we are essentially a lean startup inside the government. In the beginning, there was the PIF program. The Presidential Innovation Fellowship is an initiative to bring the best and the brightest from industry, from the technology world, into government for short tours of duty, generally 6 to 12 months, to work on projects that have the impact to save lives, create jobs, generally make the economy better, and make government better. During its second year, the PIF program was operationalized inside the GSA. And there was growing discussion among folks at the White House, among folks within GSA, about how to bring folks of this caliber, really, really high-quality technologists, into the government for longer than those 6 to 12-month periods. And in case those of you are like me or like I was about 18 months ago, had no idea what the GSA is, very quickly, it is a federal agency that employs about 20,000 people, and it is essentially the operations and administrative arm for the federal government. They handle things like real estate, procurement, government-wide policy, and anything, government-wide forms, all of those sort of government-wide things. It's a very large agency. It's a behemoth of a bureaucracy. So about 1 year ago, literally next week today, there were several of us that were wrapping up our fellowships. And as Todd said, we just hadn't quite had enough. Our tours of duty weren't quite over. And 18F was born. 18F is a digital consultancy inside the federal government, made up of federal government employees doing business for other agencies of the US government. So we're federal employees working alongside innovators and other agencies like the VA, like Citizenship and Immigration Services, like the Peace Corps, that are coming to us with really powerful ideas, again, that we feel have the potential to save taxpayer money, save lives, fuel job creation, generally make the government better. And just very quickly, as an FYI, the name is actually kind of an homage to 30 Rock. In DC, the GSA headquarters are at 18th and F Street. Thus the name. Over the last year, we've embarked on a mission to transform the way the US government builds and buys technology services and digital services. We're currently working with about a dozen agencies to help them deliver on their mission in a design-centric, agile, open, user-centered way. We plan to accomplish this by putting the needs of our users first, putting the taxpayer, putting the citizen, putting the resident absolutely first and always asking, what does the user need? Being design-centric, agile, open, data-driven, and by always shipping. As Mike Bracken of the UK's Government Digital Service likes to say, the strategy is delivery. We co-opted it and flipped it because we didn't want to just steal it. But the point is, the important thing to do is really to just start, do something. We planned to use lean startup methodologies as we got started building products. We knew that we were going to use Agile. We were going to sort of be lean. We were talking about lean UX. But honestly, the very first thing that we used the lean methodologies on was ourselves. We had to MVP our team. We had to MVP our processes, our hiring strategy, everything to figure out how we were going to operate, the 8 of us that quickly became 10, 12, 13, how we were going to operate inside this huge organization, the General Services Administration. So we identified the 2 biggest hurdles to building the team, building a team like ours inside the federal government. That was hiring and software deployment. Building our startup inside the federal bureaucracy really started by integrating with the federal bureaucracy. Historically, hiring and software the deployment practices inside the federal government have posed pretty significant challenges to software developers. And based on our experience and based on talking to other teams and other agencies, we were hearing that hiring could take as long as 6 to 9 months from the time someone applied, and that the approval process for just even an initial software deployment, meaning I have a prototype, I have something I need to put online to get users to use, was taking as long as 6 to 14 months. As you can imagine, we needed to shrink those from months to weeks. 18F is approaching hiring and software deployment in the same agile, open, user-centered way that we're approaching our projects and our products. The first few on this list probably sound pretty familiar. You need a stakeholder, a client, a prototypical user, for which you can create an MVP, you can get real people using it, you can learn and iterate, et cetera. There are 2 more that I think are specific to trying to kind of be lean inside a very, very large organization. And we've learned that these 2 things help us get traction pretty fast. The first one is it's OK to hack your way around the rules, but you have to stay aligned with them. And as soon as something works, formalize it, memorialize it, so that it can be reused, not only by your team, but by other teams. And as ever, learn and iterate and learn and iterate. The results have been remarkable, and you have to sort of put that in context. We're talking about the government. But we were 8 people, as I said, about a year ago this time. We grew to about 15 in March, when we were publicly announced to the world by the GSA. And we've now grown into a team of 70 designers, developers, product designers, product managers, researchers, writers, copy editors, and general technologists. We've got folks in DC, in New York, in Dayton, Ohio, Chicago, Tucson, Seattle, San Diego, and we've got a team of about 20 right here in San Francisco. Some of you got to visit us on Monday. It was such a joy to have you in our space and to get to tell you a little bit about this in a personal way and to take your questions and answers. So that's 70 folks plus the class of presidential innovation folks, which brings us to almost 100 folks that are collaborating with federal agencies to deliver smart, cost-effective, user-centered digital services. So back to the mission and delivering on it. In order to truly transform how the government is going to buy and build digital services, we really know that we need to lead by example. We need to lead by instruction and with hands-on assistance. We believe that user-centered design can fundamentally change the government, change your experience with the government, change your interaction with government. We thought when we started out that it was going to be agile. That was sort of the big thing that was on everybody's lips, especially in the wake of healthcare.gov. And we thought, that's the thing that's going to change government. And while those methodologies and practices are absolutely vital to how we do business, we believe that is actually always coming back to asking the question, what's the user need that will eventually transform government? So we use metrics and analytics to augment our user research. We measure everything, including ourselves. We do more than just make websites. We enable the discovery of information. We think API first when it makes sense. We lead with data. And we try to get things sort of as a functional baseline for ourselves that we can then build on top of that help our agency partners. As I mentioned, we're not capital A Agile, but Agile and Lean methodologies drive our work. We're experimenting with Lean UX. We're coding and designing in the open, thanks to GitHub. We use and build open source by default. And we're enabling and evangelizing our methods and our practices across the federal government. And that last point is actually part of the beauty of being on this team and why it is so important to get more technologists on our team, is because that is the fundamental long tail, honestly, is just this evangelism that is changing the culture and the way that so many teams across the federal government do business. That was the slide I was just talking about. So again, what is 18F? It is a hub. We are evangelizing processes. We are evangelizing practices. We are, again, laying those down as the foundational elements for how our team does business, how we operate. But I think first and foremost and fundamentally, we are people. We are technologists. We're impact junkies, honestly, on a mission to help the federal government operate just a tiny bit better. For our partners, the agencies that have come to us to help solve their problems, 18F represents change. It's a new way to approach things, a new way to approach ideas, a new way to approach their problems. Our very first project has been out there for a while, but it really showcases that feeling of change. And I think you'll understand what I mean when I put it on the screen. So this is a website called Fed BizOps. People in the know call it FBO. And FBO is how you search for opportunities to do business with the federal government. So if you're a business or a small business and you want to go in here and search for agriculture, you would get a list of results that might look something like this. Again, it's not horrible, but it's not easy to skim. Even when you dig in there further, you're not getting a great representation of the actual projects that are probably applicable to you. So we took that data, we took the XML that powers it, we scraped everything, we built an API and created this website. It's just a pilot, it's an experiment, but this is FB Open. See what we did there. It's a pilot project inside the GSA. And as you can see, we simplified things quite a bit. It's an experiment based on, again, on user needs, on the need that was identified over and over again as we were talking to people to just search the FBO content and get better and more relevant results. So again, we built an API that powers this thing, and that API is running widgets on agency pages, so they can narrow down and see a constant, flow of opportunities that pertain to their agency. And in this case, when I say agency, I'm meaning sort of like a consultancy, an outside consultancy. We also just recently had our first community contribution. Someone took the API and built an Android app on top of it. So since we're open source, he emailed us and said, I wanted you to see this, and we sent him a virtual cookie. But the results that you get are better, not only because we're scraping the data, we're also scraping the attachments to those opportunities. That all of that wealth of information that are in the attachments in Word docs and spreadsheets that get attached to those things, those don't get scraped at FBO. So we're scraping those, bring those in, and that really adds to the getting better search results. I will mention though that if you check this page, which is our dashboard, it's at our website, 18f.gsa.gov/dashboard. If you check this page, you might notice that FB Open is, I can't remember if it's grayed out or if it's even on there, but I highlighted that site to show that was the first thing we shipped. We were very proud of it. It very clearly demonstrates the type of change that we're trying to do. But also, when it comes to Lean, you have to be able to kill things. And with regard to FBO, right now, it doesn't have a clear stakeholder. It doesn't have anyone inside GSA championing it forward. And we hope that it does in the future. But for right now, it's on ice. And again, that's part of how we have to operate. So fundamentally, I think the message for anyone wondering how to do Lean, not just inside the government, but inside any really behemoth organization, to me, the answer is change is possible. 18F is now fabric of the GSA. It's changing the way they do business, about the way they think about doing business. I'm literally getting hugged by strangers at events who have come up to me saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's not me, it's just the team delivering awesome stuff. So we couldn't have done that without the support of multiple teams inside GSA. You can't do it alone. You do have to find those stakeholders and figure out what those attachment parts, and pieces are, and work with them. And again, not to mention, sort of first and foremost, our biggest champion is the administrator of the General Services Administration, Dan Tangerlini. He has not only encouraged us, but he's trusted us from the very beginning just to go start JFDI, just to start doing it. So again, change is possible. Doing lean and agile inside a behemoth is possible. Just get started.
Thanks so much, Hillary. Now it's a tremendous pleasure to introduce you to the dynamic duo of Mikey Dickerson and Haley Van Dyke, who, like Hillary, are personal heroes to me. Mikey was a rock star Google engineer minding his own business when we drafted him to join the Healthcare Rescue team. After the success of that turnaround effort, I asked him to come back to the American government to serve his country, to team up with the force of nature that is Haley Van Dyke and with other amazing teammates to power a new force for good in the US government called the US Digital Service. Here to tell you more about the story of the US Digital Service are Mikey and Haley. Please welcome them.
Thanks. I don't think, oh, you can. It's on. OK, great. My name's Mikey. I am the administrator of something called the US Digital Service. Administrator means manager. Haley is the deputy administrator or chief of staff, depending on the day of the week. And that means she's also kind of our manager. It makes me a little nervous to have us both here in one place, honestly, so far away from home. But that's how important it was for us to come tell you our story, which we're going to try to do in a very short time. As we planned this out, we figured out that the thing that we're best at telling you is our own personal experience and our own personal aspect of the story. So that's why we're both going to tell you the parts of it that we participated in firsthand. So my story begins October of 2013, as Todd just said. I was minding my own business, working at Google. I was a manager of a part of site reliability engineering there. Got through a complicated series of connections, got asked to come look at this healthcare.gov thing. This part of the story is very cinematic. I had a mysterious phone call where somebody said, the president needs your help. Can you come? Like, I didn't, this was some guy I didn't know who I looked up on Wikipedia while I was on the phone. And discovered that it was Todd, who worked at the White House and seemed to be legit. It seemed like it was the real deal. And he said, we have this website, healthcare.gov. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's not working so well. Could you come just for a couple days, maybe, like 2 or 3 days, come take a look, tell us what we should do. So I did. So I took a carry-on bag the following Monday. I went to Washington, D.C., got driven out to Herndon, Virginia, where most of the work was going on, and found that, yes, indeed, we had a website, and it was not working too well. It was the stuff on the TV was true. We found a lot. This can be a really long talk all by itself, just as part of the story. We found a lot of really bad problems. Everything that however bad you can imagine the situation being, it was that bad, basically. But that part wasn't real surprising. What was surprising was how much a bunch of what you here would consider very common sense solutions, how much mileage we got out of those, and how short a span of time. These are things like having a person who's responsible for tracking action items, or a person who's responsible for making decisions about when things are going to go into the release or not. Having all the different companies, there were, according to the press, I've never tried to count myself, but according to the press, there were 55 different contractors, which means 55 different companies involved in constructing healthcare.gov. They were not ever all in the same place until we said that that was a thing that we should probably try. We created what became a twice-a-day stand-up meeting and got everybody into that one place so that you could, even if there were processes that took longer and involved more people than you wanted them to, at least they were all in one place. You didn't have to wait for round trips to whole other cities to get the information that you needed. So this part of the story, like I said, has been covered pretty extensively, so I'm not going to talk about it a ton. That few days, of course, having done the assessment and looked around, that turned into a few weeks to maybe just help us get things, on the right foot, and then you can go back to California. That turned into a couple of months. That turned into 3 or 4 months. I finally went home in January, and we didn't know it at the time. We didn't have final numbers until the end of the open enrollment period, obviously, any more than anybody else did. But the way that actually turned out was millions and millions of people got enrolled, starting from a point when we were afraid that we were going to have to can the whole thing and try again next year, which would have been disastrous for the public policy. If you care about that sort of thing, would have been disastrous for the public policy. We averted that outcome. Got millions of people enrolled who now depend on, who now have access to healthcare in many cases for the first time through the Affordable Care Act. My life just continued to get weirder and weirder, and in fact continues to get weirder and weirder every day. They had me come and take my picture in Jay Carney's office, and then that turned out to be on the cover of Time magazine. And for what? For like having a having a stand-up meeting and like having people in the same place to like organize the work. Like, what did we do that was so amazing? I'm not sure, but it had a really disproportionate impact. So I went back to home, went back to Mountain View, slept a lot for a few weeks, went back to my job, which they had been kind enough to give me a leave of absence so I could still go back to it, and found that it was now really, really hard to care about the stuff that had seemed so important 3 or 4 months ago. We're talking about, we're doing our internal budget planning, we're talking about allocating new hires coming in, all of the routine stuff that like had seemed like kept me real busy a little while ago. It was real hard to get real excited about. So that's where I leave off the work in January, and the work continues, unbeknownst to me, in Washington, D.C., which is the part that Haley's going to tell you about right now.
So meanwhile, back in Washington, after Mikey went back to Mountain View, the brilliant minds of Todd Park and many others were still turning and still grappling with the really, really challenging, frustrating reality that healthcare.gov, unfortunately, was not the only IT project in the federal government that was over budget and behind schedule. And we had this big...
Yeah, there was at least like 2 or 3 of them.
Just a couple more, just a couple more. But as the saying goes, a good crisis is a horrible opportunity to waste. And we had what was actually a very incredible gift in healthcare.gov, which was that it gave us an MVP. It gave us the first, a tangible, a real example of what it took to turn around an IT project in months, not years, with a little bit of money, not millions, and we had a real opportunity to turn that into something to deliver lasting change in government. And it also provided leadership across government with some very important validated learning. The first and foremost is what happens when you do not put user needs front and center of every single thing that you do. We learned that loud and clear, that that was one of the big things that we needed to course correct and deliver against. It also taught us, as Mikey pointed out, that in today's world, you can no longer separate policy from technology implementation. Even the best of the policy ideas, even the best ideas on the planet right now cannot get implemented in government without having a well-thought-through technology implementation strategy. This is a new world for government, and our structure today is not, or had not been set up to deal with that very, very well. It also reminded us that waterfall is not only not a great way of delivering software products, but it's also not a great way of delivering ideas, or policy for that matter. And we needed to rethink that. But most importantly of all, what it gave us was a very, very tangible, real understanding of the problem at hand and a fierce sense of urgency to fix it not only today, but yesterday, and figure out how we could actually turn this momentum into something that would deliver lasting change across government. It turned out that our large organization, the federal government, was ready for a pivot. And that was how the United States Digital Service was born. We decided to create a startup of our own. The goal of the United States Digital Service was to absolutely fundamentally change the way that we build and buy technology for our government, to provide the most simple, easy-to-use digital services for the American people that deserve nothing less. And our theory of change hinges on two kind of big core assumptions here. One is that we need the best people possible to come and help us with this effort. If we could recreate the talent that we managed to get for the tech search team, just maybe we could actually scale this across the rest of government, deploy a tech surge to fix the entire operation. The second thing is that we really needed to focus, just like healthcare.gov had a mission-critical goal of providing healthcare and improving the lives of millions of Americans. We need to focus on mission criticality, on the most important services that the government had to offer. But what we needed first was a leader, someone who is deeply technical, maybe just cynical enough to survive in government, and possibly crazy enough to say yes to this ridiculous idea. But fortunately, we also had the most compelling, convincing man on the entire planet who had Mikey Dickerson in his crosshairs. And that's where we pass it back to Mikey.
Yeah, so there I was in California minding my own business. It was now approximately May of last year. And I had just been doing stuff such as, I distinctly remember this, I had just had a prolonged argument with another middle manager of the same tier as myself at the company I worked at, which had gone on for weeks, about whether to use a certain type of spreadsheet to track an internal compliance process that I was responsible for, or to use the bug system to track the type of to track that internal process that I was responsible for. So I was having this argument and losing, and going home, and super frustrated about the fact that nobody who isn't one of the 10 people who actually have to use that spreadsheet could care less about what these things are. This is what I was spending my time on. It was very hard to take after what I had just come from. And this was the state in which Todd found me, of course, and started to talk about this thing that we were going to create called US Digital Service. It was going to be great. It was going to be all singing. It was going to be all dancing. It was going to be totally worth it. Now, I was deeply skeptical. I mean, there's obvious reasons why this was a questionable life decision. I left I left a lot of money behind at my old job. I had to move to Washington, D.C. I don't have any, well, now I do. At the time, I didn't have any friends in Washington, D.C., except for, like, Todd, who's on the stage here. And I knew this, was on his way back to California pretty soon. He was on year 5 of his 18-month plan to work in the government. That's a fact. Haley, I had met Haley a couple times by then, not a ton, but I knew she was also on year 4 of her 18-month plan, and she was planning to go back. So I was like, none of you people who are telling me to do this are even going to be there. This doesn't sound like a great plan. Really, when you got really serious, like all that stuff I could deal with, especially since it's not going to be forever. I'm going to be there for a couple of years as an appointee. All that stuff I could deal with. What was really important was trying to work out what we actually spent the months haggling over. And there was a long, like, several-month process with we went to several nights were we there after Shake Shack closed in Washington, D.C. And it was about really two things, which were, one, are the agencies really, why would anybody take us seriously? Like, what muscle do we have to make sure that anybody cares what our opinions are? Like, this thing worked on healthcare.gov that one time, but that was really extreme circumstances that may never be in the altogether again. I don't know. It's not every day that your website has been on the, running in heavy rotation on CNN for 6 weeks because it's down all the time. That hasn't happened before or since. So like, would anybody pay attention to us? That was a big concern I had. And the other one was, if I say yes to this job, the next day it is going to be my job to find a whole bunch more people to come and do this. I have to make exactly this argument, so this argument had better be pretty bulletproof that Todd was making. So I kind of tested that for a while, finally agreed in July to leave Google, went out, started August 11th at the White House. Which is another really long talk all by itself if we wanted to talk about that. But since we only got a couple minutes, it's been a crazy experience. I'm sure you can guess that. And I'm sure that if you were guessing what would be crazy about going to work at the White House, you'd get a few things right, a few things wrong, just like I did. The things I was worried about were not a thing. There was no problem getting people interested in hearing our advice and in getting us to help with their projects. That wasn't difficult at all. I have to this day never had to ask more than once for me or some member of our staff to be included in the policy-making process at any point, because that was a big point that we took away from healthcare.gov that we hammered a lot, was a lot of the bad problems that you have here, the foundation for them was laid when the law was passed in 2010. Like, a lot of things were overspecified, the contracts were overspecified. There's a lot of stuff here that was guaranteed to go poorly from the very start. So we are part of the policy-making process. That's happened. I'm clearly going to go over, but I'm watching the other clock. It's OK. we have till 7:50. That's the wrong time zone. Don't worry about it. The minutes are right. I was checking that on my phone before we started talking. Anyway, that wasn't the thing to worry about. Access is not a problem. Demand is not a problem. We have the problem that a lot of people have when they work at the White House, which is not, surprisingly, it's not that you're frustrated by not being able to get things done. That doesn't keep you awake at night. Of course, there's some things you can't get done. We don't have a magic wand. But that isn't what keeps you awake at night. What keeps you awake at night is the huge universe of things that you can get done, and you don't have enough hours to do them all. So you have to choose. So I wrote this part down so I wouldn't mess it up. We talked about this just the other day. We had a little rehearsal, and like in the 48 hours before that rehearsal happened, these are all things that came to us. These are all projects that fell on our lap because we had done a little presentation to a bunch of deputy secretaries on Friday the day before. There was a bunch of follow-ups from that. They've asked us to do all of these things in just this 2-day span. There is something called the VBMS, which is the Veterans Benefits Management System. It is the single piece of software more than any other that's responsible for the fact that it takes us too long to process disability claims for benefits. And I love doing this talk in San Francisco because I will point out that if you go to the front door over there and look out across the street, odds are you will see at least one homeless disabled veteran. Some of the people who say they are disabled veterans are telling the truth. Electronic medical records is a thing that we've been needing to get done both in the private sector and in the government for a long time. The potential wins there are enormous. Student loans. Maybe you didn't know this. I certainly didn't know this until they explained it to me. In 2010, the federal government started becoming the issuer of student loans, becoming the originator. It's not like it used to be, where it was a private system. The federal government has loaned out $1 trillion in student loans, making it the largest lender, I think. I can't prove this because I don't know where to look this up. But I think that makes it the biggest lender ever in history. I heard Bing, my favorite search engine. Yes. I should try that. Yes. So $1 trillion in outstanding debt. A huge number of people, cost of education keeps going up. You already know this. This causes a huge number of bankruptcies. If you declare bankruptcy when you're 25 years old, it has long-lasting effects on your life. It's not good. And we have income-based repayment programs available that would stop this from happening a huge amount of the time, but people don't get funneled into them because nobody has any incentive to tell them about it. So there's a huge amount of avoidable suffering happening there. Recreation.gov controls reservations to our national parks. That may be a thing that you probably have interacted with it if you've ever gone camping in Yosemite or anything. Immigration does all paper-based processes. That could be made faster. Faster means cheaper because immigration is fee reimbursed, which means that the cost of processing your application as a possible permanent resident is a thing that you pay yourself. So that would obviously have very direct benefits to the target audience there if that was made faster and cheaper. FBI is supposed to be collecting crime statistics, and they're having a hard time getting that system deployed and integrated because it has to collect data from all of the local law enforcement. Crime statistics here might be things like, I don't know how many people have been killed by police in the United States. Like, that's the thing that we should really be able to answer, and you can see the implications of that for yourself too. One last one, the federal pensions are processed in something that they call the sinkhole of bureaucracy, according to the Washington Post article. It's literally a limestone mine in Boyers, Pennsylvania. It's another paper-based process. So, and that's just the stuff that's like that's just the stuff that's above the fold that they've asked us to do directly. Working at the White House means that we have a couple of little 20% style projects. This is a thing Google does. You probably have heard of it, where people work on stuff in their, nominally their 20% time, which in our case is like your 250% time. But it's a discretionary project. Somebody who works for us, her little side project is bringing together all of the law enforcement agencies in the United States to put real resources on the problem of human trafficking. There's some amazing technology which DARPA has built, of all places, which is really good at this analysis, and just needs a customer and needs people to get interested. And that is a thing that you can make happen very easily if you work in the White House. My little 20% project that I've spent an hour on here or there is net neutrality. Like literally a couple hours in a couple of weeks. And like the leverage that you have relative to where I was working in the private sector before is just, it's not even comparable. So that's what we are doing. And we're in the growth phase right now where every mountain we climb to the top of, we can see 3 more. I don't think any of us was really expecting this. Amazingly, last night, the omnibus, hold on to your butts, this gets real exciting here. The House of Representatives and the Senate filed an omnibus spending bill for 2015, and they funded the U.S. Digital Service with all of the money that we asked for. So all we are missing now, That was a huge deal because that means that not just the president, who we're on good terms with, but the Republican-controlled Congress as well finds this interesting. So that's a huge deal. So we're at the point now where all we are missing are the people to execute it, and that's why we're here to talk to you. So thanks for listening. Todd may say a couple words, and that's it. Thank you.
So as you can hopefully see, 18F and the U.S. Digital Service are a double helix of awesomeness for America, as I like to think about. They are lean startups applying the power of lean startup for the benefit of the American people. And for them to be as successful as America needs them to be, we need your help. The United States of America is here tonight to ask for your help. We're looking for a few good women and men to come serve our country alongside Hillary, Haley, and Mikey. We're specifically looking for the best people on Earth. Okay? People with brains the size of Jupiter, very importantly, hearts are even bigger, and who love our country with wild abandon. We're looking for you to come serve with us for a tour of duty, not the rest of your lives, just a tour, several months to a few years, to come save America. And in the spirit of there's no time like the present, I know we're out of time, but we are going to move to the Venetian room, as I understand it?
Yeah, I think so.
And we're going to camp out. I know there's other stuff to get to, but we'd at least like to, if you're interested in learning more, asking us questions, seeing how you might be able to get involved, I'd like to shake your hand, say hello, get your contact info, and set up time to talk with you further. We also back at 10:35 a.m., very precise time, in the Fountain Room, I believe, tomorrow. if we somehow miss you tonight. But if this is even remotely, slightly interesting to you, if the spark of patriotism is actually potentially sparking in here, right? To fan the flames of that, come check us out at the Venetian Room. And even if you just want to learn about, well, how the heck do you start disruption inside a big organization, right? And want to learn more about how 18F and USCS have done that, come check us out. Thanks so much. God bless you. May the force continue to be with you and Lean Startup. And God bless the United States of America. Thanks so much.
Go, Todd.
All right.
Hey,
Thanks.
that was awesome. Thank you so much.
For the kicking us out.
Did I tell you or what? Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you too.
Mikey.
Yep. Oh, thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks.
So the next time someone claims to you that your organization is too bureaucratic or political to adopt Lean Startup, you can be like, well, yeah, you know, compared to the federal government, I'm sure. Oh, wait. I'm not sure that that's true, actually. So thank you guys both. Oh, they're gone. Do check them out in the Venetian. And in particular, if you need anecdotes to use with your boss, with a partner, with a manager, with a coworker, like, these are the best stories you can have, because nobody wants to be unfavorably compared to the federal government. And I use it all the time, so it's a trick I get a lot of value out of. I hope you will too.
Yeah, please do go talk to them. They're really genuine about wanting to talk to everybody, even with the littlest spark of patriotism, as Todd said, or to share more stories. All right, so we are about wrapped up for today. Just a couple quick reminders. We start in the morning back here at 9. And there's the guided meditation tomorrow at 8:30 if you'd like to join Stacy. Do check your email from us. We are going to keep an eye on the storm, and in case anything changes tonight that might affect the schedule for us tomorrow at all, we'll put that in our email tonight. So keep an eye on that, and head on out, and we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for a great day.
Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.